Brilliance Audio presents The Barefoot Princess by Christina Dodd, performed by Heather Wilds. If Jermyn Edmondson, the Marquess of Northcliff, had known he was about to be kidnapped, he wouldn't have gone out for a walk. Or maybe he would have. He needed some excitement in his life. He stared fiercely toward the grey bank of fog creeping across the cresting green ocean and covering the Isle of Summerwind. Far beneath his feet, the waves crashed in foamy malice against the rocks at the base of the cliff. The wind combed his hair and lifted his unbuttoned greatcoat like the wings of a black seabird. The salt stung his nostrils, and a faint beading of spray misted his face. Everything here, in this corner of Devon, was wild, fresh, and free. Except for him. He was bound here, and he was bored. With disgust he turned away from the vista, with its constant, tedious, battering waves, and limped toward the garden, where spring crocuses had begun to poke their greenery up through the barren soil. Yet he took no pleasure in the small glimpses of gold and purple that shone through winter's dull brown blanket. His estate contained nothing to entertain a man of his interests. Only country balls enlivened the nights, peopled with bluff squires, giggling debutantes, and sly mammas on the hunt for a title for their daughters. True, he had determined that the time had come for him to wed. Indeed, he'd demanded Uncle Harrison submit a list of the current crop of debutantes and suggest a proper bride. But he would not take, as his life's mate, a girl who considered a hearty walk along a bucolic lane as entertainment. So unless one could ride or sail, and the carriage accident 2 months ago he'd suffered had curtailed his activities sharply, the days were interminable, stretching endlessly, quietly, filled with long walks in the fresh air, and reading. He glanced down at the book in his hand. My God, he was so sick of reading. It wasn't as if the London papers arrived with any regularity. He'd even begun to read in Latin, and he hadn't done that for 13 years. Not since his father had died. Not since he'd left this place forever. How he wished he'd stayed away. It was pride that sent him dashing away from London. He hated being an invalid, and he hated more being the centre of cloying attention as he recovered. When Uncle Harrison suggested Summerwind Abbey as a retreat, he had considered the idea had merit. He knew better now. In the gazebo he seated himself on a cane chair and rubbed his wretched thigh. He'd suffered a bad break in the accident, and that country physician he'd called to attend him 2 nights ago had told him, in his ignorant Devon accent, "The best medicine is time and exercise. Walk until your leg is tired, but don't you overdo. Walk where 'tis safe and flat. If you slip and wrench that newly mended bone, you'll do yourself permanent harm." Jermyn had dismissed the man with a snarl. It hadn't helped that, only the previous day, he'd taken the steep and winding path down the cliffs toward the beach, and fallen because of the weakness in his leg. He had scarcely been able to drag himself back up to the manor. It was that pain which had made him send for the doctor in the first place, and he was not appeased to hear he should stroll on his veranda like a dowager or a child. Opening his book, he allowed himself to sink into the tale of Tom Jones. A tale told when England was green and warm, and youth was a joy to be savoured. The rollicking adventures penned by Fielding captured him against his will, and Jermyn started when someone said, "My lord." A maidservant stood at the entrance, holding a glass on a tray, and at his consenting nod she approached, the tray outstretched. He noted 3 things. He had never seen her before. Her blue gown was shabby, and the silver cross around her neck was exceptionally fine. And she stared into his eyes without deference as she thrust the drink toward him. He didn't immediately take it. Instead, he noted the girl's fine-grained skin, so different from the tanned complexions of the local milkmaids. Her eyes were an unusual shade of green, like the sea thrashing under the influence of an oncoming storm. Her hair was black, upswept, and curled tendrils escaped from the ribbon that bound them. He'd wager she was not yet 20. And pretty. So pretty. He was surprised no farmer about had claimed her as his bride. Yet her expression was severe, almost austere. Perhaps that explained her single state. Without being given permission, she spoke.